Hi everyone, my name is Emma Sims, and the thesis that I am presenting is on trusting in first impressions and how they lead to betrayal in 1984. Everyone has been betrayed at some point in their lives. Some of us may have even betrayed others. Betrayal is an excruciating thing to experience. It's so well known that it's often compared to being physically stabbed in the back. Being betrayed by someone you once trusted or even loved can break you. Relationships, whether they be platonic, romantic, or familial, can easily break under the scarring act of betrayal. You can be betrayed by bad people by believing in their untrue first impressions, as shown in George Orwell's 1984. Suppose a government controlled its citizens to the point where they would betray anyone for that government. There would be no trust between the people. If you can't trust those around you, can you even trust yourself? Can you really know yourself? You can't. The government, it will swoop in and it will take that trust, demanding your loyalty to it, the government alone. Here we have the problem of Winston Smith, the main character of 1984, who trusts certain people and creates connections with them, but makes the same mistake in each relationship: his first impression of the other characters. The first impression of someone is their mind's first assumption of them as a person. The party, the government of Winston's society, has twisted his perceptions of people and his first impressions of them, which makes him naive. Winston meets Mr. Charrington, a kind and old pawn shop owner. He offers to rent out a room to Winston in which there is no telescreen, which is a device that listens in on the citizens and is used by the party to spy on them. Winston takes this offer without any type of hesitation. He doesn't stop to think about why Mr. Charrington would offer it to him, since they both know that it is against the party. On the other hand, Winston's first impression of Julia, his love interest, is entirely negative. He hates her and is suspicious of her because she is a woman, and Winston, no matter how you look at it, is a misogynist. The party does not allow for any type of intimate relationship between men and women, instead driving them apart to keep them from building connections with one another. This tactic works on Winston. His negative view of Julia doesn't really change until they start their relationship together. In opposition to that hatred, Winston trusts O'Brien the moment he makes eye contact with him. He says that yes, he knew that O'Brien is the same thing as himself. He looks up to O'Brien as a mentor and older brother figure. Winston was too oblivious to see O'Brien's manipulation through false hopes and fake ideas of rebellion. A major form of betrayal is shown between Mr. Parsons, Winston's neighbor and co-worker, and his daughter. His daughter betrays him to the Thought Police, which is a secret police that works for the party, accusing him, Mr. Parsons, of a crime that he did not commit. She has no love for him. There's no such thing as a family to her. The most shocking part of this betrayal is that Mr. Parsons is proud of his daughter. There is no love or connection within the family. Mr. Charrington, remember that kind old man? He presented himself as a safe person to trust to Winston, but he was truly a member of that thought police that I mentioned. He had been spying on Winston and Julia the entire time that they were together, using that room that Mr. Charrington had offered to them. Ironically, Mr. Charrington was never suspicious to Winston, but Julia, in Winston's initial first impression, was highly suspicious. And Winston himself, he is not innocent in all of this. He's not a passive victim. He betrays others. He betrays Julia, his lover. He becomes inhumane by doing what the party wants him to do. He cries out for Julia to be the one tortured instead of him. He betrays his lover, the one who he was closest to. Winston and Julia admit their betrayal to one another, ending their relationship and their love for one another. According to Julia, it's necessary to betray someone because, quote, you mean it. You want it to happen to the other person. You don't give a damn what they suffer. All you care about is yourself. They've been broken by the party, its authority is all encompassing, and they both suffer from it. Entirely unlike his relationship with Julia, Winston still treats O'Brien with reverence and admiration despite everything he goes through, latching onto the idea of O'Brien as a good man. He says he has a peculiar reverence for O'Brien, which nothing seemed able to destroy. This devotion is reminiscent of how the party wants absolute loyalty from its citizens. The party has perfected the art of controlling people's minds through filtered media to keep them subdued. Posters of a man with the caption, "Big Brother is watching you," litter every surface. Thought police patrol in secret, and telescreens record everything you do. In order to keep this influence, the party does three things. It removes the idea of family, it replaces it with a surrogate, and it warps the idea of connection, of love. Parents must produce children for the party, not out of want for a child. As seen with Mr. Parsons and his daughter, there is no such thing as a familial connection. Everyone is expected to adhere to Big Brother, a symbol of the party that facilitates family between the people and the government. The party is not a motherland or a fatherland to avoid people following their own parents. It instead creates a need to receive affirmation from an older sibling because younger siblings often have an innate desire to impress their older siblings. The party has destroyed the concept of love as well. Men and women are not allowed to build relationships. The party drives them apart because love is a threat to the party. People would do anything for their loved ones. The party strives to have that loyalty devoted to it alone. Winston and Julia view their own love as an act of rebellion because they developed feelings and loyalty to one another that did not cater to the party. A bond of trust and understanding, one from the heart, is the strongest defense against betrayal. Winston says that the inner heart, whose mysterious workings were mysterious even to yourself, remained impregnable. He knows that a person's strongest beliefs will always remain true so long as you're loyal to those closest to you. Humans naturally want to build connections with others because we are social animals. The party destroys those relationships, creating an unnatural society that doesn't know how to be human. Julia believed that if you can feel that staying human is worthwhile, you've beaten them, the party. She knew that by loving Winston, their connection proved that they could withstand betrayal, but once that bond was lost, it became easier for them to be betrayed and to betray one another. 1984 can teach any reader about trust and betrayal, how the hurt from it can be everlasting. The party encourages people to betray one another, children against their parents, friends against friends, even lovers can betray each other as well. Such betrayals only further empower the party. By understanding Winston's actions, it becomes easy to avoid the mistakes he made. In a society like the party's, false impressions are dangerous to believe in when everyone is meant to think and act the same way. Winston trusts men around him too easily because of the party's patriarchal society, but he doesn't trust Julia for the same reason, which hinders his relationship with her. By learning about these mistakes and how they led to betrayal, you can see what you need to avoid when building a genuine bond of trust with people. Such relationships can keep even a totalitarian government like the party from causing betrayals and encouraging them. It is inherently unnatural for people to only trust their government, but strong connections with others are a defense against that. Maintaining a connection with others makes it possible to uphold a sense of humanity. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Sims. We now open the floor for questions.
Any questions? I think she's thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking,
Questions that anyone is like ready to ask.
Right.
Yes.
So 1984 is a work of fiction, but is there anything remotely realistic about its nightmarish and frightening depiction of this all-encompassing totalitarian state? Is there any reality that informs Orwell's fictional narrative?
I think the most relatable part of it would be understanding what betrayal is. Even though 1984 is a work of fiction that represents an extremity of a totalitarian regime and how it can control the people, we see the types of relationships that Winston is going through, and we can relate to that because everyone has tried to develop relationships with another person at some point. And we can see how Winston does the wrong things and how he ends up being betrayed. And we can still relate to that betrayal because we have all been betrayed or betrayed someone else at some point. Finally thought of your question.
That was very funny. Anyway, so you said that building a bond of trust between two people will not ultimately lead to betrayal, but you could not trust somebody and still not betray them. So in a way, it could be, instead of like just being trust, it could also be a form of selfishness because when you betray someone, you most likely get something out of it. So could you say it's the untrust and selfishness that led to betrayal?
Yes, I do think that if you are betraying someone, it is an inherently selfish act to do because you know that you're hurting the other person and you're choosing to destroy the trust that they had in you for your own personal gain. Any other questions? Mr. Davis.
Could you explain for us here? So, why is the party so especially devoted to separating familial relationships above all others? Why is it especially interested in destroying male-female relationships such as Winston's and Julius and trying to even prevent them from ever occurring? What's so inherently dangerous about that to a all-powerful government?
So, to discuss the first part of your question with familial relationships, the first bonds that we create when we're born are with our family. For example, you have skin to skin contact between a mother and her baby. So, as you grow up, you first learn how to create bonds with your family and you become devoted to them and they devoted to you. So, the party works to subvert that first. It removes the sense of familial connection with your blood family and instead replaces it with this adherence to a big brother that is a symbol of the party. So you still have a familial connection, but it's not to your actual family, it's to the party and the government. And then to answer the second part of your question about why men and women are not allowed to be together, is because it is, if a man and a woman are together, that can often create an emotional connection between the two of them, not necessarily love, but it can very quickly develop into a sense of love for each other. And if you love someone, you would do anything for them. You would sacrifice yourself for them. And the party desires to have that loyalty to it alone. So, in order to keep men and women from being together, it forces them apart and it takes that human urge to be with someone else and it changes it to where you want to be good for the party and you want to stay loyal to the party itself. Yes. I'm just trading here.
So you said like the party wants to try and like disband like trust between like the family and stuff, but for people to understand what trust is, it's through the family part. So how, and like by using the big brother in a way, that's the surrogate for a family. So how is it that they're able to fully trust the party if they have no physical or emotional connection to the big brother?
So humans are social animals and we have this innate desire almost to create connections with other people. So what the party has done by creating a surrogate is that it warps your mindset into wanting to be good for the big brother so that even though there is no physical depiction, sorry, I shouldn't say that. even though there is no like physical person that is Big Brother, you still want to adhere to that ideology, this idea of a big brother who is loving and cares for you. And you want to build trust to him because he will take care of you.
I'm going to briefly jump off from the Sims questions. Are there any real world parallels that might have inspired Orwell in making this seemingly so outrageous and outlandish suggestion that this could ever be plausible?
So when George Orwell wrote the book, it was in 1948. So just after the Second World War, where we saw the rise of fascist Nazi Germany, and it's around the beginning of the Cold War, in which we see the rise of the Soviet Union and the USSR. And within these fascist ideologies, Orwell is highlighting how they both, the Nazis and communist regime in Russia, would remove the people's sense of loyalty that they had towards each other as citizens, as families, as friends and lovers, and they instead twisted it into being loyal to the government and to the party that they were meant to adhere to.
All right, we are now out of time. Please do a final round of applause. It's been an extremely enjoyable evening. I hope you've all benefited from this and have come away impressed with the hard work that our seniors have put into their theses. And I hope you all have now a wonderful week for midterms for you seniors. Families, I hope that you are proud of your students and you all have a wonderful night and a Merry Christmas season. Thank you.
Thank you.